In a relatively quiet day in Major League Baseball, Dylan Carlson ends up signing with the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets reportedly out on Alex Bregman, and Brandon Nimmo is still suffering from plantar fasciitis. We're going to give you the lowdown of all of these things. Hello, my name is Craig. Welcome to Metropolitans. We are YouTube's smallest New York Mets and Miami Dolphins channel, getting you ready for the season. That is spring training just a couple weeks around the way. Please hit that like and subscribe as you come on in. Good evening, Lisa, to you. So I've got a couple of different articles here that I need to share for tonight. And get my screen readjusted here. I am having a good evening. I just got back from baseball practice for my son, so meant to have this over here like this, but we'll have to just drag and go as we go. All right. Dylan Carlson. Dylan Carlson was originally a St. Louis Cardinal. He was traded at the trade deadline to Tampa Bay Rays. Today, the Orioles announced that they have signed outfielder Dylan Carlson to a one-year deal, reportedly worth $975,000 with a $25,000 bonus for getting to 200 plate appearances, so essentially $1 million contract. Carlson is 26. He's seen his stock slide in recent years, which includes a rough showing in 2024. He got 265 plate appearances last year, struck out in 28.3%. So, but a team like the Baltimore Orioles would be a really nice place for Carlson, where there's no pressure whatsoever. Obviously, the opposite is true. It's going to be hard for him to break into that lineup on any sort of consistent place, but all it takes is one injury or just one trade that doesn't work out, or one signing that doesn't work out, and you always got a chance to do that. So anyway, that is not necessarily directly Mets, but of course, anytime a player comes off the board, it definitely narrows down the options, even if they're not high tier. So it's like, okay, well, what's going to be going on here? All right, so the next name that comes out the board, or comes off the board here, supposedly based on reports. Again, I'm just bringing to you what I read. I don't have any sort of inside sources here, but we're going to bring this up here. All right. From Mets Notes today, this is by Dara McDonald from MLB Trade Rumors. Infielder Alex Bregman remains unsigned, with his market taking some turns recently. While returning to the Astros once seemed impossible, it now seems the door is open a crack. Other teams are still lurking, but it doesn't seem like the Mets will be jumping in. Ari Alexander reports that the Mets are no longer in the running. The Mets were connected to Bregman early this winter, but it always seemed like a less than perfect fit. First baseman Pete Alonso and the club have been in a bit of a contest for months, and possibly comes back. But even without Alonso, the Mets could have Vientos as their regular first baseman, then have third base open for competition between Beatty, Mauricio, and Acuna. Bregman is reportedly willing to move to second base, but the Mets have Jeff McNeil there. McNeil can also play the outfield, but the Mets have a crowded mix there. So sounds like the Mets are out on Bregman based on that as well. So you've got kind of another name coming off the board. And then lastly, there's a couple other ideas. Yep, the standoff continues. I think every day that the standoff continues, I'm essentially trying not to talk too much about Pete Alonso today. I'm kind of like worn out of Pete Alonso and everything else. So whatever's going to happen there is going to happen there. So, all right, Brandon Nimmo update here. So both Brandon Nimmo and AJ Minter, who we just recently acquired, both of them are coming off of injuries and hoping to be ready before or around opening day. Nimmo, the longtime Met, was playing through plantar fasciitis in his left foot during the latter parts of last year's schedule. It's possible that impacted his performance, especially since his numbers went down significantly in the second half, and postseason was not great for Nimmo. He said he had an injection in his foot after the season is ramped up to jogging, but he has not yet started full sprinting yet. He'll miss some early spring training games most likely, but expects to be ready to go on opening day. So that's what we've got going there. All right, Nimmo turns 32 in March. His contract runs through 2030. I would definitely expect the Mets to go very cautiously, very slowly with Nimmo. There's just zero reason to rush him back, and it would be nice to get him healed up. And then I'll answer your question in a second, Jonathan. By the way, good evening to you. Thank you for hanging out. I want to read this update on Minter, even though he wasn't in the headlines here. Did want to read this really quick. AJ Minter, age 31, was signed a few days ago. His 2024 season ended with left hip surgery in August. The Mets liked him enough to give him a 2-year, $22 million deal with an opt-out after year one. His recovery timeline is a little murky, but he is hoping that he'll be ready for the start of the season as well. He said the goal is to be ready for opening day. He says, my hip does feel really good. I'm happy where I am. I don't want to put a date on it. The Mets are going to have their protocols. They want me to take it day by day. But for me personally, my goal is to be ready close to opening day. And of course, again, there's no need to rush any of these things. There's yes, obviously opening day is cool. It's fun, all those things, but it's just not worth giving up, or potentially injuring someone that they'll be out for the whole season just so they're ready for opening day. So that's what we have on that one. I want to see, did I have one more? Yeah, I have just one other small amount of Mets notes, just a few other minor league signings that I found. These are probably names that you're not going to see or hear anything about, most likely. Okay, but I'm still going to give it to you so that way, hey, at least you heard it here first. I'm trying to find a date on this. This is from a long time ago. I don't know. I guess it's from December 20th. All right, never mind. That's not even new news, so we're not going to cover that. All right, when is opening day? That's a great question. Let's go. Mets.com. When is opening day? Who are we playing for opening day? Now, opening day I think there's some sort of international game as well. So the Mets' first game of the season appears to be March 27th at Houston. So it's showing on the schedule. Their home opener. Here, let me show this. I can share screen really quick on this. So here, but this looks to be the Mets' first game of the season. So 4:10 on March 27th. That is a Thursday? Yeah. So the Mets are going to have a 3-game series, and they actually won't even play the first Sunday of the season. And then the very first MLB game of 2025, I think there was an international series. Looks like a Tokyo. All right, so there's a Tokyo series, March 18th and 19th. So that's actually, that's crazy. That's only like 6 or 7 weeks away. March 18th and 19th is the Tokyo series. It's going to be the Dodgers and the Cubs, of course. You got a bunch of Japanese players that are on the Dodgers. So that's going to be let's see. March 18th and 19th. All right. And then there's a couple other dates. March 27th is the main opening day. 28 of the 30 teams will be in action on that day. So that's basically what we're looking forward to. Good evening, coconuts. So, all right. So those are the basic updates. And I'll take your questions and do that. Yeah, I don't see any reason that the Mets should be rushing Nimmo here for sure. For sure. I think you're too invested in him long term to be rushing things back. You should have Soto to more than cover for him at the start of the season. All right. So let's see. My thoughts on Winker to first. I like Winker as a platoon DH. I think if you're relying on Winker as your everyday first baseman, I think that kind of starts to compromise your lineup. I think Winker's the type of guy. It's nice to have as DH. He's a great guy to bring off the bench. He's a great guy to bring in on a day when the bats are sluggish, or different things like that. But I would not want the Mets going into the season relying on Winker as their everyday first baseman. Fine to play some games there, platoon there every once in a while, get in, but I don't think you're going to get the productivity that you would want out of your first baseman if Winker was every day. It's just my gut feeling on that. Why did McNeil miss amazing day? Oh, I see. I didn't hear that. I know Soto missed it, and there were rumors that he missed his flight. So, I did not know that McNeil missed it. I don't think it's any secret that the Mets would like to get rid of both McNeil and Marte, given the opportunity to do so. But they might not actually have the opportunity to do so, which is, definitely a possibility. That McNeil just feels like he's on his way out. He feels like he's not wanted or whatever. And I don't know. It's the first time they did it. Obviously, I don't know the personal situations, all these guys. So I don't think I would read too much in on missing Amazing Day, because it's not like it's a thing that has happened every year. It was the first time doing it. Maybe he was just maybe he was just out of town. I don't know. I'm not going to read too much into that. And then should the Mets trade Mauricio, Clifford, and Jonah Tong for Michael King? Okay, so I'm not a big fan of trading for one-hit wonder pitchers. Now, Michael King might be a great pitcher down the road, but basically he had a breakout season. I don't think that the Mets should be. I would not want to hop on that, and certainly not giving up prospects in that situation. Not at least top tier prospects. I just tend to be super skeptical of pitchers who have one great season. I think when you have a pitcher who has one great season, when I saw that the Padres were looking to trade him, I'm like, it's exactly what you should do. Just like in fantasy baseball, right? If your player is hot, just trade him. Just regression to the mean is more likely. Now, it's one thing if it's a great player, and McNeil reads the chats and thinks everyone hates him. I love you, Jeff. Yeah, I don't think Jeff McNeil is in here reading the chats, but no, I would not read too much into it. But I do think, given the right deal, the Mets would deal both Marte and McNeil. I think they're just as the upper management would just kind of like to make that if possible. Yeah, I do like. I am a fan. I would much rather give Torkelson a chance. I would rather give the chance to someone who was highly touted but just didn't have a great start to their career, because the talent is there. It's just a matter of if you can coach them up and get them where they need to be. So yeah, I wouldn't want to give up a lot for Torkelson, because it's kind of a high risk thing. But I was proposing something along the lines of something like Beatty and Marte and McNeil and $8 million for Torkelson. I wonder if something like that could get that deal done. I haven't looked it up on MLB trade values or anything like that, but just off the top of my head, because you got guys the Mets are trying to get rid of, you got a hole that the Mets are trying to fill. So I wasn't sure, but the squirrel is golfing. So I don't know. It's I don't know. I haven't, again, I don't have inside info on any of this stuff, but Nimmo's foot problem, I see McNeil getting a lot of playing time. Yeah, right. And I think that's exactly it. But that also might work in the Mets' favor, because maybe they can give McNeil a ton of playing time, raise his market value, and then trade him at the trade deadline. Because McNeil does have value to a lot of teams, being able to play multiple positions. And so I think there could be a deal made there, but you also, yeah, if you're going to go super slow on Nimmo, you got to make sure that you're still putting out a decent lineup every day. So I don't think, I think the Mets would trade Marte today if they could, but maybe with a little bit of the uncertainty right now and not really knowing. We've got a bunch of these young guys, these baby Mets, but we don't really know what we're going to get out of any of them. Is Vientos going to regress? I would certainly, in my head, I'm planning on Vientos taking a step back this year. It's just pretty typical that after you get a full season or most of a full season on tape, teams then can study and make adjustments, and the sophomore slump is a real thing. I buy into that. So if Alvarez stinks this year, do you replace him? No. Alvarez is going to be here for a long time. I his framing is great, at least as long as framing is a thing, which until we have robo umps, I would like to get a second good catcher though. I have plantar fasciitis. Very nice, Shane. Sharon. Very nice. No, I would like to get a second catcher that would also have good productivity from the plate. And I think maybe it would be beneficial for Alvarez to have a couple of days off and not feel like the Mets have to just downgrade significantly on offense on his off days because so I would love for the Mets to have another good catcher, another good hitting catcher. Doesn't have to be quite as good defensively, but that way on the Alvarez off days the lineup doesn't really suffer. So again, I put last year is, to me, that's Alvarez's sophomore slump. It's players go out, they put up great numbers because they kind of catch everybody off surprise, but then you get a full year of tape on them, and then pitchers adjust, all the analytics departments adjust, not apartments, analytics departments adjust, and then the hitter kind of becomes at a disadvantage, and then I'm going to say after that now the third year is like, then it's up to the player to make the adjustments after that. And then we'll kind of see where things are. But I would expect a step forward. Obviously Beatty struggled a lot last year. So I would hope to see a step forward from Beatty, assuming he gets some playing time. I'd expect to see a step forward from Alvarez this year. I would expect a step backwards from Vientos. Now, again, they may surprise me, but just in general, just from watching lots of baseball over the years, I would assume, I know Acuna is tearing things up in winter ball. He's having great winter ball, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he takes a little bit of a step back because he played so much. So we'll see on that. I think Mets want to keep Vientos at third when push comes to shove. No Alonso, then Torkelson seems. Yeah, for sure. And but I also don't think the Mets are going to overpay for Torkelson. I just don't see. I don't see that being a thing. Beatty and a mid minor leaguer for Torkelson, maybe. I don't know how much they. I honestly just don't know the Tigers' needs. I don't know. I know their infield is in pretty good shape. That's why McNeil might not work. But if they are looking for outfielders, maybe it's one where Steve Cohen throws around some money to get a Marte or get a McNeil off the team, get Torkelson over and just send some money with it too. I could see that. But again, it all depends on what the Tigers' needs are as well. McNeil gets 4 or 5 days playing time each week, plays second. He'll become 280 hitter with 15. Well, the problem with McNeil is he really it seemed like he changed his hitting approach from, he's not that far removed from being the National League batting champion. But I feel like kind of analytics just kind of ruined him. So I try not to be super old fogey about analytics stuff, but when you've got a good thing, it doesn't always matter what the analytics say. Just let that player play the way that they play best, right? Arias, you can say all you want about his analytics, but he's the type of guy I want on my team who can consistently get on base. Like, I get it, batting average is not what all the analytics geeks love to see all the time. It's not their primary thing, but some guys are just designed to be batting average hitters. And I think when you start messing with players' swings, you start messing with their confidence, you start messing with everything, and it's really easy to just totally throw somebody off a rhythm. I mean, I was coaching some of the kids on my son's little league team tonight and working on some hitting stuff. So I was pitching batting practice. I threw 200 pitches tonight, so gonna have to ice the shoulder after all of this. Through 200 pitches, but I try to be really cautious about giving too many things. Like, there's lots of different things, the average 9-10-year-old needs to fix in their game, right? There's lots of things. But if you tell them there's 10 things they need to fix, you're just going to end up messing up their swing. It's a whole lot better to focus on one or two key things, one or two key mechanics, and then do that, and then also emphasize the things they're doing well. And these players, they're men, but they're still just people, right? And so I think a lot of times, no chin music tonight. Didn't hit anybody. I was pitching from probably like 25 feet away in the batting cage. So they weren't heaters in there. It was like my first session pitching to most of these kids. Like, other than my son, I've never pitched to any of these kids. So they're all new to me. So until I know them a little bit better and know their strengths and weaknesses, I did move the ball around a little bit. I was trying to get the kids to move a little closer to the plate. So I tried to pound the outside corner a lot and say, yeah, that would be a strike. You got to be able to at least foul that off. You got to be able to foul that off, and different things like that. So Soto, Lindor, best hitters. Who is our third best? Let's see. So, well, I think when healthy, Nimmo could easily be our third best hitter. I mean, we're assuming no Pete here. But Alvarez can go on a roll sometimes too. I mean, McNeil could also be, if he could find his old stroke and get that back. Ugh. Sorry, I'm a little tired here. But yeah, so that I would say, I mean, there's a chance of multiple ones. I mean, Vientos had a strong season. I mean, if Vientos doesn't take a step back, that for sure he could be our number 3 hitter. So what's exciting is that there's not an easy answer to that question, and you kind of have to see it. It's like, oh, yeah, there's going to be days. Lots of different players are going to be able to be the hero in different games. Arias is a great hitter. Reminds me, Matty Alou, on base machine, exactly. And this is what I think. Sometimes the analytics geeks are just like, it's all about launch angle, and it's all about like. At the heart of the game, it's all about getting on base, right? Like, that's what it is. And yeah, there's certain guys who are going to be power hitters that the launch angle matters. But I feel like if you just kind of look at McNeil over the years, he was the batting champion. Don't do anything different. You don't even need to deal with analytics. And I think sometimes it's just too much. It's too much for some players. The players who like it, the players who want to embrace it, that's good. But to start making everybody have to follow a particular type of analytic, or to start emphasizing things that are more, based off of launch angle and all these things, like, it's good. But when you start messing up players' swings, and then you start messing their confidence, and then they start questioning themselves every time they come up to bat, I think that there's a lot of negative things. And I lament that we're at the day that people are like, oh, well, yeah, Arias, he gets on base a lot, but his WAR isn't that good. Like, he's easily replaceable. I'm like, no, he's not. That's a huge skill. When you got guys who are full-time starters in the majors hitting 220, hitting 320 is a huge difference. That's almost on average, he's getting a hit every game of the season, right? You get at least 3 at bats, and you're going to be batting him lead off or near the very top of your lineup. So he's basically hitting 333. He's averaging a hit per game that he plays in. That's nuts to me. Don't tell me that, like, okay, I don't care about your WAR if you're doing that. And so again, I'm old fogey. I didn't grow up with all the advanced stats, and I do think there's value for some of them. But I think ultimately it's this idea that players are robots, and all you have to do is tell the robot, change your launch angle, and you will do better. Or expected batting average. Well, yeah, that's great, but I don't care how good your expected batting average is. Ultimately, it's what is your actual batting average, right? Like, that's the theoretical doesn't matter in the midst of the game. The theoretical is great for building your team, looking for player strengths and weaknesses, but to simply say, well, we're gonna sell out for all analytics, and we're gonna make everybody change their swings, so that way everybody can fix their launch angle, so that way our expected batting averages will go up. And yeah, but you're not dealing with robots. You're dealing with people, and you're dealing with guys who have been refining their craft certainly for years without any sort of analytics, right? So, I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we're timing your run from home to first, or we're seeing how far you can hit the ball. We're seeing, I mean, yeah, that's basic stuff, right? That's what they're doing with my little league team. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players, not just Bud Harrelson. There's a ton of players, or they would get way less playing time. And then there's a ton of players that you've never heard of that would get way more playing time, and I just because everybody knows in their heart of hearts that it's more than just being a power hitter. And I think the Pete Alonso saga, as much as I'm trying not to talk about him tonight, kind of proves it because ultimately, what are teams saying? Well, we like the 40 home runs. There's no team out there that doesn't want 40 home runs from their first baseman, right? If every team could have a 40 home run first baseman, they would take him. But they're also saying, you know what, we don't really like we don't really like that your batting average is 220. We don't really like that you can't hit in the clutch. There's just intangibles. They're just things that you see, and Mets fans have pointed out for years, like one of their big things with Pete is feels like when it's high pressure, it just he doesn't he does it just sometimes seems to really hurt him when it's a high pressure situation. And I I think we all know that there are just intangibles in baseball that go beyond anything analytics can measure. And I feel like analytics geeks kind of ruined Jeff McNeil. You know, you just when you're the NL batting champion, you just don't mess with that. You just shouldn't. I mean, tweaks, yes, but it was like they did a complete overhaul. And it's not good for these players. Baseball is a game of habits. It's a game of repetition. It's a game of mastering your craft and then making small tweaks. And occasionally a player will do a complete overhaul. But for a lot of these guys that you watch, if you were to go watch the videos of them playing in little league or in high school or middle school or whatever, they'd have a lot of the same exact quirks that they do and doing that. So I don't know. Analytics are great until the postseason. Yeah, Kiki Hernandez and the Dodgers bench won that series. Well, absolutely, right? Because there's something intangible there, and I would say, I kind of think analytics are good until the regular season. Analytics are great when you're building a roster, right? You want to find the balance of this is how we want to be built. Do you want to be built around speed? Do you want to be built around power? Like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Like, use analytics to build things. Use analytics to do small minor tweaks, but don't tell the batting champion that he needs to change his whole swing. It's ridiculous. He's the batting champion. He's the one who should be teaching other people how to swing, not the one doing, not the one being told that his swing needs to be changed to fix his launch angle. Who cares? He's the batting champion. And you just start to mess with that. And it's like, just it's okay for not every player to be aiming to be the same exact type of player. Not every player needs to go out and hit home runs. Vitalik, good evening to you. So I don't know. I feel bad, right? Like there's so much of me that I want to see, like you're just a fan of the team. And the longer these guys are on the team, the more you want them to be together to ultimately get the ring together, right? That's what you want to see. And it's like that's one of the reasons why I want Pete back. I feel like the Mets have a better chance of winning the World Series with Pete Alonso than without. And even if you argue, well, what is he going to do in the playoffs? Well, what if he gets you to the playoffs? What about the games that he can win you that don't matter as much anyway? So, right, exactly, coconuts. There's so many World Series MVPs. You're like, what? Like that rarely happens in Super Bowl where you're like, oh, who's this guy? How did this random person know? Like who the Super Bowl MVPs are, but yeah, World Series MVPs and all different things. And there's because of the nature of baseball, there's a chance for so many people to be heroes. Wasn't it for the Cardinals? I mean, this was years ago, but David Freese, like just out of nowhere, just hits like a clutch home run. Like that's what it is. Andy Chavez had that catch for the Mets. Now I know they end up not winning the World Series, right? But like Andy Chavez isn't the best outfielder the Mets have had, but he made a big play in the game. So yeah, exactly, Ronald. I agree. And it does like some of it, yeah, you're gonna make a gut call, and sometimes you're gonna make a gut call and it's gonna be wrong. But I feel like we need to swing back a little bit towards old school baseball. Like, I'm not saying get rid of all analytics or all stats or all advanced stats or anything like that, but there is just something about baseball. And again, just understand, I've been coaching little league now. This is my fourth season involved in coaching little league. Ever excuse me, ever since my son started. And you can't just go and tell a kid you're doing this wrong. You got to fix this and expect them to instantly fix it, iron out all their issues with their swing or their throw or different things. It's a lot of slow repetition, teaching them drills, reminding them, getting them to the point where they remind. Like, one of the things I like about working with my son is he was pitching tonight and we were just doing pitching off to the side, and I was helping, probably about 6 or 8 kids do some pitching because they're trying to make sure they have as many pitchers as possible ready to go for the season. And I've worked with him enough that when he made a bad pitch, he'll just say, "Oh, I did this. My release point was off." And he knows it, and he knows how to fix it because he knows what he's done wrong. But that's because of lots and lots of repetition. But if you go up to a kid and you're just like, "Okay, well, now I know you've been working on this for the last 4 years, but now I want you to completely change how you do your windup and how you do your delivery and all these things," like, ugh, that's tough to do. It's easier to teach them the right way than it is to unteach them bad habits. But even if you have to unteach bad habits, you have to do it slowly. You have to build them up. You have to give them the freedom to know, like, look, they're trying this new thing. If you're going to say, hey, look, you got to fix your release point, or you got to point your glove at the catcher when you're pitching, like, you got to do those things, and you got to realize they're not going to get it perfectly, and you can't start yelling at them. You can't do that. And I just think th- that if analytics are not based in the reality of psychology, a human psychology, I guess, is what I feel has been lost in baseball as a whole. And yeah, I agree that Mendoza seems to kind of understand that as a broader perspective. Um, and I think you'll see managers who can balance both analytics with psychology. They're going to be the teams that you're going to see overachieving, right? Some teams are just super talented, like the Dodgers are super talented. Um, but you can see teams like the Orioles kind of overachieve when you're balancing both raw talent with analytics, with also this balance of playing by feel and really understanding the team. That's why finding a good manager is so hard but so important. I would say it's important in every sport. Your head coach, your manager, it's important in every sport. But I feel like in baseball, it's so much more because baseball is so streaky, and you need to have managers who will just let the guy work through his cold streak. And it's why fans a lot of times, I think, just do so much more damage. Like, I get it. We all get frustrated when the player we want to do well isn't doing well. But who was that Phillies player that was just absolutely horrible? And then the Phillies fans are like, "Hey, let's give him a huge round of applause, big ovation." And he broke out of his slump. Go imagine that, right? Screw the analytics in that situation. It had nothing to do with analytics. It had everything to do with human psychology. And I think, I know it's like it's the New York thing and it's the Philadelphia thing. We boo our team when they're not doing well. But individual players, I think fans would actually help their teams a lot more if they would do more stuff like that. This is such a confidence game, more so than pretty much anything, right? I mean, all I can compare it to is like basketball. But even if you just have a bad night shooting in basketball, you're probably not going to slump for a couple of weeks. It's just you just take enough shots and you do that. But baseball, like, if you're in a slump, you might only get 2 or 3 at bats in a game. And it's like it's hard to work out because the best way to work out of a slump is just to keep taking at bats, keep taking at bats, and then fans start booing you because you're striking out. But your striking out is actually getting you closer to the result that you really want. The result you really want is you're trying to fix this mechanic thing that you got off base, or there's some twitch, or there's something that you need to do. So, yeah, it's really I've come a long way. I'm not gonna go super deep into this. I talk a lot about my personal transformation on my other channel. But I think a lot of fans take sports way too seriously. It's like they take their frustrations of their own life out on other players. I mean, like, if we had people boo us every time we made a mistake in life, like, I mean, some of us have had that, right? Some of us have had parents or siblings who have just absolutely like ruined us because they're not cheering us on. And, you just feel like you can never please other people who are around you and stuff like that. It doesn't feel good. Guess what? These players are real human beings. It doesn't feel good to them either. So that's maybe how I'm a little different. I'm just a little calmer on the sports thing. Like I tend to be fairly practical with this stuff because it's like, could you just imagine you walk into work tomorrow and everybody just starts booing you because you made a mistake yesterday? Like, it would not do well for your confidence, right? Or versus you walk in and you had a bad day yesterday, everybody cheers you on and they're excited for you. Hey, like, go get him today. Like, I don't know. I get it. It's the New York bravado. It's the Boston bravado. It's Philadelphia. I get it. I get it's the city culture, but I'm just to the point in my life, like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I just and I can't imagine it really ever helps a player, right? Like, do you really think you're helping a player by booing them? Yes, I mean, some people, I mean, now as an opposing, right? Now I get booing an opposing fan. That's in the sportsmanship. Yeah, I know that we talk about the money they get, but money doesn't change the fact that they're real people. Like, that changes their bank account, but it doesn't change human psychology. I mean, there's tons of people who are rich and absolutely miserable. So, like, there's plenty of actors in Hollywood who have more money than you or I could ever imagine, who are just absolutely miserable with their lives, and so money doesn't heal everything. Money makes it easier to take care of problems, but money doesn't fix anything that's broken inside of you. And anyway, sorry. I know it's not super interesting stuff, but that's just kind of where I'm at. Yeah, instilling faith in a player can go a long way. Yeah, I'm old school like that too, Ronald. So long season, hitters fail 7 out of 10 times, more failures than success. Yeah. I mean, you have to remember that they've gone through this for years, right? Like, my son hit 480 last year in Little League. I mean, I'm excited for him for that. But he had multiple games where he didn't get a hit. Even hitting 480, he had games where he was absolutely frustrated that he didn't get a hit. Like, it's the nature of baseball. Baseball is a game of failure. It's just a game of failure. Alex Cora in 2018 won the World Series more than any of his hitters. All his moves worked out perfectly, even though the team had problems. Aaron Boone is a robot manager. I know a lot of people don't like Aaron Boone. But I mean, you see it. You see it, and you can tell when managers have lost the clubhouse, and you can also tell when managers have kind of hit the peak. They brought a team as far as they can bring them, right? Talking talking um oh, Mike McCarthy, right? Mike McCarthy. He's the coach that'll get your team that hasn't been making the playoffs to the playoffs, but that's about it. His pedigree is, well, I'll turn your team around and get you to the playoffs, and then I can't get you past that. There's just certain coaches. That's what they are, and there's nothing wrong about being that coach. It's just then the fans get frustrated and upset, and different things like that. So therapy is an amazing thing. Yeah, baseball will break your heart, but you're back the next day hoping for a better outcome. I love it. Yeah, Soto Jr. Yeah, he's a lefty. He's a lefty, so he's been they actually let him play other positions in the infield tonight, and he was kind of overwhelmed because, like, on his other team, they would never even let him do anything other than, outfield or first base or pitcher. So he was like playing shortstop tonight as a lefty, and he didn't really know what to do because it was cool. I was like, hey, don't worry, just enjoy it. Enjoy it. I said, last year they wouldn't even let you play. And tonight in practice, he was playing shortstop and third base, and as well as first base, as well as outfield, and getting hits and stuff like that. So we'll see someday. Someday. Their team this year is the Bats, Bats, named after the Cincinnati Reds AAA affiliate, I believe. I think. Let me see, because they were telling us about that. The Louisville Bats. They're the AAA franchise of the Cincinnati Reds, and the coach is a big Reds fan, and he grew up in Louisville and grew up going to Louisville Bats. So their logo is literally a bat, like a bat animal carrying a bat. Here, I'll share this one really quick too, just so you can see. You can see it right here. The Louisville Bats. It's a bat carrying a bat. So that's they're not taking the Louisville part, but they are taking the Bats name this year. So it's a minor league team. And so anyway, that's their opening day is February 8th. It's like a week and a half. So they had their first practice last week. Last Wednesday was their first practice, and opening day is like a week and a half away. So we're going to be getting to real baseball. So he's playing the AAA 8 to 10-year-old division this year as a 9-year-old. So, but it's a good team. They can hit. This team can hit. The team that he was on last year was only about half the kids could hit. And so like the top half of the lineup was stacked, and the bottom half, it was really hard to do anything. This team, my goodness, all these kids can at least get a bat on the ball. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be hard for me to really do much of a stream because I'm coaching, and I think I'm actually going to be keeping score. But maybe sometime we'll try to stream it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, not in February. I mean, today was the first day that we've had practice that it wasn't like below 50 degrees. It's like, I think practice was about 60 degrees at the start of practice, so it was comfortable. But I'm still wearing long sleeve even in the house. I'm still chilly from practice tonight. So anyway, appreciate you guys. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, definitely want to do that. We are just slowly working our way up. I'm trying to figure out why YouTube's not letting me vertical live stream on this channel. So I don't know. I reached out. I haven't heard back from them. So yeah, you got a son who played football and baseball. Being a player doesn't make him feel better, right? And it doesn't change, right? There's this, yeah, for sure. Good night, Vitalik. Thank you so much for hanging out. So anyway, that's the Mets updates. I'm definitely looking forward. We'll start doing some coverage. I'm not going to do like a bunch of streaming of like every preseason game or anything like that, but I definitely will be trying to come live to you guys at least as many nights as I can with whatever updates are going on in all of baseball as well as within the Mets camp as well. So hopefully that was good. Yeah, thank you, Ronald. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. We're YouTube's smallest New York Mets Miami Dolphins channel, so appreciate you guys hanging out with us. And as soon as I can get vertical streaming, I can actually do some fun streams throughout the day. Yeah, we can do that. Maybe I'll post the stats. I can post some stats and stuff like that. We'll do some stuff. Like I said, it's going to be really hard because I think I'm going to be keeping score for the team. So it's super intense keeping score because you have to keep track of pitch counts for every pitcher, as well as, like balls, strikes, hits, errors, all those things. So, well, it'll be coming. So, all right. Well, I appreciate all you guys again. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, definitely would appreciate it if you would do that on our journey to 100 subs. When we get a little bit closer, we'll do like a stream. Once I can get vertical, and then we'll just do a stream. Like stream won't stop till we hit 100 subs. So that's what we've got. For those of you guys who are part of the Side of Hustle channel, I'm going to go live over there in like 5 minutes or so. All right, so I'm gonna head over to Side of Hustle and just go live and hang out with you guys because I got some questions about some food delivery stuff. So I'm gonna head over to the other channel. I guess for those of you who are interested, A Side of Hustle is my other channel. So I'll throw the link because I'm going to go live over there, not talking about sports, talking about some life stuff and actually food delivery things. So let me just post the channel really quick. Oh, Lisa, you're not a mod in here yet. That's funny. I need to mod you up over here. And for those of you who have just been hanging out with us, just started hanging out with us, we'll keep adding mods over a little bit of time. So um, Vitalik and Lisa, they've been with me over on the other channel for a while, and just keep hanging out, get the vibe of the channel. And if you want to be a mod down the road, we'll be adding you guys on um, when the time is right. So why can I not find this? Does anybody have the link to the Side of Hustle channel for anybody else? There we go. Yeah, it'll be at least 5 minutes. Why can I not find it? You're blue again. Yes. Appreciate you guys. I just want to throw up the link for anybody who wants to come on over to the other channel, but I cannot find it. I don't know why I cannot do this right now. Brain is not braining. Let's see, go here. Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, we'll see, because I do think the Mets are still going to be adding a frontline starter. I do think that is still going to happen. Here, hold on. Let me do this. Let me go. There we go. There's the link to the other channel. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for posting that. You're faster than me. Brain is not braining. So if any of you want to join us, that's my life improvement channel, and all about side hustles and just kind of overcoming different things. So you're welcome to join us. We're going to go live there in about 5 minutes. So appreciate all you guys on Metropolitans. Thank you so much. Yeah. No, I think we've talked about the other nights, but I definitely think that the Mets will be signing another starter. I fully expect that before the season begins. But appreciate all you guys. Thank you again for hanging out with us, and we'll be back. Plan on being back every night, all the way up, as many nights as I possibly can. We'll try to be up. So, all right, sounds good. Appreciate you all. Have a great night.